our gaming news. Sit back, relax, and let's begin. Nier Automata, or Automata, I believe it's pronounced Automata, but it was recently revealed that this game will have an included auto mode feature that will work as an easy mode for inexperienced players that are new to the hack and slash action game genre. Now, this mode will have your character automatically attack enemies for you in order to make the game easier. This is a optional mode, of course, and for players that wish to play the game normally, you can easily opt out of this function. Platinum Games also announced that a Nier Automata demo would be out by the end of 2016. So I'm really excited to play this demo. I hope it comes out before December, if it can. It's I'd say one of my most anticipated Platinum games, maybe aside from Bayonetta 2, which is also one of my favorite Platinum games. But it's going to be really interesting to see what they do with this demo. It's rumored to be 40 minutes long, and it's going to be different than the demos that were playable at E3 and TGS. This demo will be for the general public and will be available on the PlayStation Network for download. So can't wait to play it. I'm sure it's going to be very interesting. Platinum Games also recently teased a Bayonetta amiibo. Bayonetta is a character included in Super Smash Bros., the Nintendo Wii U and 3DS game. And this new image teases her figure, which will be releasing hopefully sometime later this year. And with that, they also released some new exclusive Bayonetta 2 information that was never revealed previously. Now, apparently in Bayonetta 2, there are certain doors that you can stand in front of and input certain button combinations. If you input them correctly, you're able to access a special shop and buy items. Now, of course, you have to buy the items, and they usually cost a lot more money than normal shops in the game, but it's still a nifty, hidden feature that we didn't know about yet. So it's really cool that 2 years after a game has come out, there are still secrets in it. It reminds me a lot of Metal Gear Solid 2, which still has secrets being found like every year by dedicated fans that basically try to do everything they can in the game. So, another rumor this week is Nintendo is apparently entering trial production of the Nintendo NX at Foxconn, the Chinese manufacturer. Foxconn being the famous or infamous Chinese manufacturing company. They are currently finishing production on the PlayStation 4 Pro, which will be launching later this year. And they are also apparently working, as seen in this rumor, on the Nintendo NX. Now, apparently they're supposed to finish 10 million units in a year. So if the NX is launching in March, and they just started trial production now, that would mean that they're going to be around at half that number, so about 5 million ready for the launch, which I guess would seem kind of normal, unless Nintendo was doing something before then. But yeah, and this source came from DigiTimes, by the way. It's an insider source that spoke with people at Foxconn. The Ubisoft CEO this week has gone on record saying that Nintendo has learned from their mistakes with the Wii U, and that the Nintendo NX is a fantastic piece of hardware. Now, friendly reminder that Ubisoft in the past basically with every single Nintendo system, both handheld and console, always praises it. But after it comes out and their games sell, I'm not going to say poorly, but not as high as expected, they usually abandon the system. And they do this with other consoles as well, just not always Nintendo. So take that information from Ubisoft with a grain of salt, because I remember them saying the exact same thing with Zombie U and the Nintendo Wii U when that was launching. Really sorry about that background noise. Apparently there's a helicopter flying over. Okay. Oh, and another interesting piece of news this week. Nintendo, the company, turns 127 years old. Wow, 127 years they've been around. Now, they've existed for a very long time. A lot of people don't know that, but they weren't making video games always. They were in charge of creating like toys much before they entered the console market. So they were making like various like kids' toys and gadgets and stuff like that. And then like hundreds of years ago, like 100 years ago, they were in charge of making card games like the Hanafuda cards in Japan, which were a huge craze at the time. And they were actually outlawed for a period of time, if I remember correctly, because when British sailors and stuff came to Japan, they also brought gambling card games with them, and the Japanese government banned those. So Japanese people decided to create their own card game, and that became a huge craze, and then that was eventually banned for a short period of time. So Nintendo's been around for a very long time, creating these games for people to play, basically always some kind of game, whether it be cards, toys, and now video games. So yeah, really interesting. They've been around for more than 100 years. Persona 5. Persona 5 released in Japan over a week ago, and it's taking the country by storm. It's the highest selling Persona game in over 20 years, which is slightly funny because I don't think the Persona series is even 20 years old. The first game was on the PlayStation 1, so it's basically the highest selling Persona game then. And I believe in the last week since it's come out, it's sold around 350,000 units just in Japan. So they're really on their way to almost selling 1 million units possibly. So this is really good. I can't wait to see what the numbers are going to be once it reaches the West, North America and Europe. For those that haven't picked up a PlayStation Network subscription recently, you're in for a disappointment. The PlayStation Network prices have now officially increased in North America and Canada, basically. So if you didn't pick up the subscriptions in the last week, you're now going to have to spend $59, $59.99 US dollars for a year of PlayStation Network service. And if you're in Canada, you're going to have to spend $69.99 Canadian dollars in order to buy a year of PlayStation Network. So that's a little bit disappointing that they decided to increase the price, but for those that play online, it's a necessity and people are more than willing to pay. So From Software, the developers of the Souls games, are currently working on 3 new games they recently announced. And one of these titles is apparently Armored Core. Now, the Armored Core series hasn't been around for a while, actually. I think the last game wasn't even developed by the original developers and didn't sell well. I like the Armored Core titles. I wish they would do better than they have been doing. I think the series deserves to sell more. From Software is actually developing a new game, and it's going to be for the PlayStation 4, so really interested to see how that game's going to turn out. Dragon Ball Fusions, a new Nintendo 3DS RPG, has been announced for Western release this week. It was previously only a Japanese announced game, but now we know we're going to be getting it in North America and in Europe. It's a RPG game set in the Dragon Ball universe with new original characters and returning ones from the series. It's an RPG that heavily deals with character fusion and abilities, so curious to see how that turns out. Death Stranding this week had new information revealed that this game will be releasing before the Japan 2020 Olympics. So we can potentially expect this game to come out in a little less than 3 years. So who knows, 2019, 2018, basically however long it takes to develop the game is when we will get it. Knowing Kojima, he usually takes time with his projects to make sure everything's perfect, so I'd say that 2019 seems like a solid bet on the probable release year for the game. Now, geek news for the week. Paramount Pictures this week showed off the Ghost in the Shell live-action movie trailer starring Scarlett Johansson. Now, it's not a full trailer, it's just a teaser trailer. It lasted like about 15 seconds. It had a very, very brief scene showing off what seemed to be an android geisha walking down a hallway. It looked pretty cool, but some fans of the Ghost in the Shell anime and manga series have been disliking this teaser trailer, fearing that it's entirely different than the source material. But I think that I have faith in Hollywood this time, because I know they've had some bad, made some bad decisions in the past with their adapted Japanese live-action movies and anime films that they brought to America, and decided to use them as inspiration for new live-action movies or basically animated series. But there have been a few times when it actually turned out very well, like positively, and Edge of Tomorrow, the Tom Cruise and Emily Blunt movie, which came out like 2 or 3 years ago, is actually really good, and it doesn't follow the manga like exactly as it should, but I think the movie was really good, and it did a good job of like portraying anime tropes and like a world into a live-action Hollywood movie form. So if it's anything like that movie, it's certainly going to be great. Now, retro gaming fact of the week is also news for the week. Famous YouTuber Metal Jesus this week uncovered a Nintendo employee counselor guide manual and counselor guide handbook. Now, these Nintendo counselor guides show off some of the inner details of how these people would work at the company. Now, for those that don't know, Nintendo counselors were people you would call in the late 80s, early 90s. You'd call Nintendo and you'd ask for these game counselors to help you in certain NES and Super Nintendo games that were really difficult, and these counselors would help you out. Now, the thing is, with this new information we got from these manuals or whatever Metal Jesus received, it actually shows just how dedicated these Nintendo game counselors were. Like, they're like these super thick, like 1,000-page handbooks that they actually took time to write at the company to make sure that Nintendo fans that would call in needing assistance could get the absolute best information. Like, there's like hand-drawn maps. They actually took time to draw maps. Like, this is before Game Facts existed, and video game guides were very few. Like, you'd find a few in Nintendo Power. You'd find some books at your local bookstore on how to beat certain games, but these guys would actually write their own guides, draw their own maps, and share them around the offices to help people beat games like Castlevania, Dragon Quest, Final Fantasy, and stuff like that. So it's really cool. I thought it was really fascinating to see just how dedicated these employees, Nintendo game counselors were. So it's really nice. I suggest you all check out Metal Jesus' video on this. It's on his channel. It's his most recent video. He's a really cool guy. So that's it for this week. And don't forget to like, comment, share, and subscribe. And if you have any pieces of news you want me to cover next week, just comment in the comment section or send me a tweet on Twitter. Hope y'all have a great week. So long.